Now, companies are spending huge amounts of money to transform to the digital age. Global spend on digital transformation grew by over 10% last year. But Sonke Telecom's Gudani Luvhani says this means nothing without an investment in reliable connectivity. Well, let's discuss this further with him. Gudani, good morning, and thanks so much for your time. So when we talk about connectivity, it's such a broad topic to talk about. Let's break it down in terms of digital transformation and why connectivity is so important to the process, why it's vital.
Good morning to you and your listeners, and thank you for inviting me to your show. Connectivity, I think, if I were to use human anatomy as an analogy, is digital transformation is the heart, and that's what keeps all the organs in the body alive. Connectivity is the actual blood, is what actually carries the nutrients that keeps those organs functioning and keeps the body functioning optimally. So without appropriate connectivity, you're unable to take advantage of the digital tools that are there that would empower organizations to operate effectively.
So practically, what are we talking about? We're talking fiber, we're talking Wi-Fi, we're talking reach. What are we actually talking about?
So you ask a very important question. So connectivity spans a myriad of technologies, and a lot of people will tell you, I've got Wi-Fi at home. And for the end user, as far as they're concerned, is the Wi-Fi. But in order for the Wi-Fi to function, it's a function of multiple pieces in terms of connectivity. The Wi-Fi is merely the last piece that connects you to the network. That then Wi-Fi connects you to your router or a box at home that the service provider leaves. And then it connects into a backbone network back into what we call a core network. A core network is where connectivity resources are shared. What enables me and you now to speak remotely is that there is a piece of core network that is sitting in a number of operators. For example, this call will go through my core network in Johannesburg and hand over to your operator's core network. And then it's all seamless. It all happens within a space of milliseconds. Yeah. So you have to have proper speeds throughout. So the Wi-Fi has to be fast enough itself, because a Wi-Fi can be too slow. If you have if you have too many devices, or the content that you're transmitting over a Wi-Fi, or the number of people that are there can be too slow. The connectivity that takes you from your house to the core network, that itself can be too slow. The core network itself, if it's not configured efficiently, can be too slow. And the network is as good as its weakest link.
Gudani, like we say, companies are going all out. They're rising to the occasion of digital transformation. And I'm sure COVID and working from home, the pandemic has sort of speeded up the process a lot over the past year. But how are we doing in terms of connectivity? We often hear criticism as well of infrastructure in this country, whether it's able to support that kind of transformation. How are we doing?
So in the country, we've got some pockets where connectivity is doing well, depending on where you are in the country. And it's a function of economic status of the geography that you are based on. We have done well in terms of basic connectivity for communication, for normal voice. We've got very good coverage and are probably amongst the most well-connected regions in the world. But when it comes to the next age, digital age that we need, the type of connectivity that is needed, hence you hear a lot of noise about spectrum and spectrum options and availability, is that in order to deliver what for example, spectrum would do, is that what fiber can't do in terms of the cost of deploying it, spectrum is able to be broadcast to more people that can connect to it quicker without having the effort of building the infrastructure. What then that enables customers and telecommunication providers to do is give you that connectivity. However, it's a finite resource. Hence, you have this issue. So organizations, at an organizational level, you would need an appropriately qualified professional to guide the organization to have effective connectivity for your proper usage. And even as a professional yourself, you want connectivity that enables your work and what you do day to day make your life simpler.
All right, very quickly for us, Gudani, I suppose a big concern here would be the cost of something like this and the ongoing cost to sort of get it done and then to sustain it. Is that something that might deter businesses, or would you say invest in it now and then reap the rewards long term?
So you also have to weigh the investment and the opportunity cost as a business. I think for one classic example that one can use is you have to look at the total cost of ownership when you look at that. Right now, with a lot of people working from home, a lot of businesses have reduced their overheads in terms of maintaining corporate offices. At the same time, enabling their employees to work efficiently with proper connectivity.
Oh, all right. A bit of a connectivity problem there, but we get the
inappropriate
gist.
medium. For example,
Gudani, we seem to have lost you there, but do finish your point if you can for us.
So I was saying, ensuring that employees have the appropriate connectivity to fulfill their functions for the entity over the long term and medium term has an impact that the productivity lost when you don't have appropriate connectivity becomes quite an issue. And the example now is one of those, as I'm saying, in terms of the connectivity between us, where you're saying something went wrong there. Now, if you are in a production mode, that can be a costly incident. So what you do need to do is to look at the whole value chain and get an appropriate expert to look at that and assist an organization to make sure that you get return on investment.
And I think, if anything, we've realized that having to do broadcast by Zoom and Skype over this time, we realize the value of that connectivity. Yes. Thank you very much. There's Sonke Telecom's Gudani Luvhani.